So I'm in Toronto right now, and leverage changed my life, and that's why I want to make a video today to talk to you about leverage. I am here, got a sick penthouse on the 50th floor or something with this crazy view of the CN Tower and just crazy crib you can see, and with the sea view and everything. Now the reason I'm making this video is to explain some concepts to you. The concepts of Ikigai, freedoms, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how all of these things you need to be aware of. For example, I'm going to talk about this book, which is from Dan Priestley. I met Dan Priestley at a mastermind, and I paid 15K to attend this mastermind when I could have just read his book. Why did I do that? It's because of leverage. If you want to have a crazy life, if you want to have the life you desire, you need to have freedoms, and you need to have Ikigai, and you need to have leverage, and you need to know how to make growth that is not incremental but leaps and bounds. And the reason I'm saying this whilst I'm in Toronto is because in the last month and a half, from Dubai, I've been to Amsterdam, then I've been back to Dubai, and then I went to Saudi twice for Umrah, and then I went to London, and then I came to Toronto. I'm going to film a bunch of podcasts here, meet cool people in the city, be able to travel, explore the world, and still trade. And I'm going to show you the trade I took today. Still make money, and this is all because I built a life by design and had an intentional approach. So let's talk about all of these things in detail. So I'm going to explain to you the concept of Ikigai. It's a weird word, it's a Japanese word, and Iki is life and Gai is purpose or reason. Sounds a bit too philosophical for this YouTube channel, but the basic premise is, you know those circles that overlap? So we could say like, I want to be really rich and I want to be really healthy. And if I only focus on money, I'm probably going to give up my health. If I only focus on the gym, I'm probably not going to make money. So there's those overlaps. Where the two circles overlap, that's the optimal zone where you've maximized your money and your health. Well, Ikigai is basically the purpose of life, everything we live for, all of those circles overlapping. So I want to, relationships overlap with health, overlap with spirituality, overlap with hobbies, overlap with free time. In fact, let me put it on my laptop so I can tell you. It's an idea of mission, passion, profession, vocation, and then it is what the world needs, what you can be paid for, what you're good at, and what you love. So that's Ikigai in the sense of a career. And there's other ones that would be more for other areas of life, but this is the one I want to focus on. So let's say I want to focus on what I love and what the world needs. I might miss out on what I'm good at, and I might miss out on what I could get paid for. So again, I need all of these things to overlap. So what I love, what the world needs, what I'm good at, and what you're paid for. And then it gets deeper to say profession, vocation, mission, and passion. When all of these things overlap, that's when it's called Ikigai. And I want to take it a step further because I want to add in elements of freedoms. So when we add in the freedoms on top of Ikigai, so this is going to be my version. We have Ikigai plus freedoms, geographical, financial, time freedom, and then you can have other areas of freedom. For example, the freedom to say what you want, the freedom to do what you want, the freedom to make money in the way that you want. You could go into an infinite list of what freedom means to you. So therefore we have Ikigai, we have freedoms, and then we have other areas where I want to talk about, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So in case you hadn't heard of it, but I'm sure you have, it's basically a pyramid where at the bottom is the base needs. The base needs are, for example, breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing. If we are an entrepreneur or a trader and we're stuck in life on level 1, where we're so focused on time for money, so our vehicle in life that we choose, remember I told you about stages of wealth, where we had stage 1, which is to get to 10K, then 100K, then a million, 10 million, 100 million. And the vehicles have to change. Remember, as they say, what got me here won't get me there. So going off the back of that is the idea of, if I do time for money, and for example, in my case, being a dentist, time for money would have been a golden prison. I would have got paid well, but I would only be paid for how much work I do. If I got injured, if I stopped working, I took a vacation, I could not earn. So the bottleneck became my time, and it's completely unleveraged. It's time for money. And if you're not in a position where you can earn a high income, again, I've spoken about it at length, what you should do, what I recommend. If you don't have a degree or something, I recommend B2B sales, B2B service delivery, or B2C sales actually, sales or service delivery, contracts arbitrage. These things have a lower barrier to entry, a low learning curve, and a guaranteed potential to make money, whereas trading doesn't. Trading has a low barrier to entry, very high learning curve, and also the likelihood of making money is not guaranteed. Second of all, if you're a closer, let's say, a high ticket sales closer, you could be 80% good. So you spend about 6 months learning, you could get 80% of the way there. Of like a professional closer, you could get 80% of the way there in 6 months. And then to go from 80% to 90% and 90% to 100%, it becomes a lot harder. You know, to really squeeze out the extra 10% takes a lot of time and effort. But that 80% is doable in 6 months. In trading, if you're 80% of the way there, you won't make money. If you are not all the way there, it's a binary thing. It's either you are profitable or not profitable, and it's not a case of 80% is enough. So it's a really large learning curve. There's no guarantee of earning. I know people that have been trading for a decade and not made money. So the idea being is you need to pick a vehicle that is not time for money later on in life, and you need to pick a vehicle that is setting you up so that you can have time to learn. So for example, trading is vehicle 2, I believe. I've mentioned it before, where vehicle 1, for example, B2B service delivery, contractor arbitrage, or sales. This is lower barrier to entry. You don't need to be amazing at it. You could be average. You can still earn, and it's not a large learning curve. Once you've done time for money, you got some savings, then you go to level 2. I think that should be trading. You give yourself a couple of years, you have a cash buffer, you have an income, and you have time to learn the skill without pressure and anchors of emotions. You don't have bills to pay. You don't have the emotionality of, well, all the emotions that comes with a trader that's just started and wants to make money right away. And I think trading is a great opportunity because it's leveraged, something I speak about. Leverage, which is the same inputs lead to greater outputs, meaning a trade 5 years ago for me might have made $100. If I made a 10% month, I might have made a couple $100. Now, if I make a 10% month, or in the future, if I make a 10% month, that can be hundreds of thousands or if not millions. So the idea being the same input, greater outputs, that is leverage. Same for, well, there's various opportunities in life that I've chosen which are leverage, and in the realm of ikigai, freedoms, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that's what I want to discuss today. Trading, don't look for your full ikigai in one, okay? Don't look for everything in one where you say, okay, I want to have time freedom. I want to travel the world. I want to trade from a beach, and you have all of these ikigais in one, and you look for trading to squeeze that to you. No, realize trading is a vehicle in life where it's going to get you from one place to another. It might not be your final destination. And therefore, you need to optimize for what you're trying to achieve, not optimize for what you want from life. Meaning, if you're looking to get ikigai from your job, it's very unlikely, because if you want to have financial freedom and geographical freedom and time freedom and all the freedoms, and then also have the ikigai, which is passion, mission, vocation, profession, what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid well for, it's very hard to get that in a job. It's also probably hard to get that just in trading alone. So you need to realize, for this complete ikigai, maybe it's later on in life, but I can do certain things now in my job. I can get other ones, bonuses on top with my trading, and then you move forward like that. So let me explain now what is Maslow's hierarchy of need. So if you're at level 1, it's going to be very hard to be a trader because you're focused only on food, water, and shelter and paying the bills. So therefore, you're desperate to make money. You're not going to be trading with correct emotions. You're not going to be following a correct strategy. You're going to be looking for the get-rich-quick approach. You're not going to be looking for mentors, and you're not going to be investing in yourself because that takes too long. You're not going to be doing prop firms correctly because you just want to hit a home run right away. These things are damaging and we don't realize. We have to set up our life correctly before we go on to actually trading and actually learning how to trade. And this discussion of psychology, if you are now entering with anchors, you're always going to be in the wrong setup. If you're entering with desperation, you're going to be in the wrong setup. You need to be in a situation of not learn and earn. You need to be in a situation of learn, then earn. Myself, my learning days was when I was at university. I was a dentist, well, a dental student. My father was helping me a lot with covering my rent, covering my fees, tuition fees. So I was in an isolated bubble where I didn't have to make money, and I just had to pass my exams, and I had 6 years to learn a skill. And that's what I did. I traded a demo account for a long time. I did course after course. I watched so much content, and I refined and put in the true hours in an isolation, free from outcome of money. And that helps a lot. But if you're not starting to trade today, and you need to make a payout next week because you're tight for money, it's going to be difficult. So if you can ascend a little bit on Maslow's hierarchy of need, which is after psychological needs, which is food, shelter, water, clothing, and sleep. Next is health, employment, property, family, and social ability. This one is where most of you are probably at, which is fine. But if you can go a little bit above, where you go to love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization, look into what these things are. Now you can start to have these 3 areas which I'm speaking about, which is ikigai, freedoms, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The more you can ascend on all of them, all of these things come together, and it'll really help your trading psychology immensely. And it'll really help the setup in everything immensely. And, well, you can actually see, I have a book here. It's by Daniel Priestley, and I bought this book, and I started to read this book before I went to a mastermind. And then when I was at a mastermind, that mastermind had Dan Priestley speaking there. So crazy full circle moment that I bought his book, was reading his book, attended a mastermind, and Dan Priestley was there. Now, the point being, I could learn a lot from Dan Priestley from this book. It was like $10 and amazing. But what I've realized in life as well is leverage is important and progress is important. It's not the hardest worker that makes the most money. So get that out of your head that, oh, I work so hard, so therefore I deserve X. No, you have to work hard and smart with leverage and intentionally, because I'm pretty sure between a billionaire like, who's the one that has the island? Anyway, it's an old guy, white guy from the UK who owns the Virgin Group. He has a private island. Richard Branson. Okay, Richard Branson. He does one meeting a day and that's it, and then enjoys his life. He makes billions a year. He does not work as hard as a regular laborer, okay? It's not about working hard, it's about working with leverage, working with assets, not doing time for money and all these things. Now, the reason I mentioned Dan Priestley and the book is because I think it's, a lot of people focus on step-by-step growth. And I get it, because you're focused on the school system. We're told like, you start off with 7th grade, then 8th grade, then 9th grade, do your midterm exams and then your end of year exams, and it's step-by-step incremental progress. But the reality is, if you do that in the real world, if you focus on, let me watch some YouTube videos, let me read some books, let me practice and backtest on the weekend, if you do step-by-step growth, incremental growth, you will be swallowed up by someone in business or life who does leaps and bounds. How does someone go from leaps as opposed to step-by-step growth? Leaps. Because that's when you add in leverage and leaps, you will make progress so much more faster in life, which is why I'm in a position where I can make a lot of money and I have elements of ikigai. I'm higher up on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I have the freedoms that I want at this stage of my life as a bachelor in my 20s. I don't want time freedom right now. I want to be busy. I want to be hectic. I want to be traveling over the world. I want to be meeting lots of people, networking and building things. And I mean, in the last month, I've been to Amsterdam from Dubai. I've been to London from Dubai. I've been to Toronto. Now I'm here from Dubai. And I went to Saudi twice. That was in 6 weeks. I'm able to travel a lot, grow businesses. I'm able to do a lot of podcasts, meet cool people, ask these cool people what I want to ask them in the format of a podcast, which is leverage, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed, and still be able to trade effectively, still be able to make an income and do everything I want in this stage of life. Is because I was choosing leaps and bounds as opposed to incremental growth, and not just about working hard and talent. It was working hard, a bit of talent, a lot of luck, a lot of support from my family and people around me, and then working smart. So this book was for me a big reminder that I met Dan Priestley at a mastermind when I could have just read his book, and I paid $15,000 for it, meaning to say I can be in the room with other high-level people doing better than me and have a lot of lessons to give me, and then people I'm listening to at the mastermind can give me tangible advice based on the specific areas I'm struggling with and based on their experience, because there's someone that I look up to, there's someone that's ahead of me in life, someone that's achieved what I want to achieve, and it take them, let's say, 10 years. They can now tell me everything they did right, everything they did wrong, the advice they can give me and apply it to my situation, leaps and bounds of growth, and it just required a little bit of money in an investment. And I can now make progress. Instead of 10 years, I could learn so much in a weekend, in a mastermind. That one mastermind is not going to change my life. But if I continually do masterminds, I continually do consultings, I continually do courses and mentorships, I continually read and consume good content and watch good videos. I don't watch mindless content on YouTube. I watch people like Charlie Morgan, I'm not going to list them, Alex Hormozy. I listen to high-level people that are ahead of me in life that I can learn from, and that's a paradigm shift. Look, as humans, all we can do is make outputs by synthesizing our inputs. That's all we do. We synthesize our inputs. So if I can improve the quality of my inputs, I can improve the quality of my outputs, and that's a paradigm shift. If I am stuck with listening to just my friends from my high school who are out partying still and doing drugs and whatever they're doing, and they're small-minded, potentially views, they're limited thinking, small-town mentality, stuck in the time for money realm and all of those things, and I'm having conversations with them every day, I'm going to be in that the loop of sameness. But rather, if I can change my inputs through better friends or more successful people around me or masterminds and better quality content, over months and months and years, my inputs will be so different into my mind, my thoughts will change, my emotions will change, my behavior, actions, and outputs will all change. And it's so imperative because these things don't happen from one YouTube video, one book, one mastermind. No, this is a lifestyle. And then you can start to ascend on the ikigai, on the freedoms, on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then all the other things that I mentioned of levels and stages of your financial career. So I spoke about various things: ikigai, freedoms, leverage, leaps and bounds, and the vehicles of life, vehicles of wealth generation. And right now it might seem a little bit, okay, what's the purpose of this? Apart from cool to know, Wakar, what is the actual meaning behind all of this? So let's actually explain why it's important. So right now, I'm noticing a big, huge debate that is decided between traders of what is the place of psychology, how important psychology is. Some people say psychology is 90% of trading. Other people say technicals is 90% of trading, and I have my beliefs, but let's speak about the actual purpose of psychology. So what industry in life, what industry, what skill, what anything is psychology first, unless you're doing a psychology degree. But look, let's say I was doing my dentistry. Let's say you have a doctor. Will your doctor ever say, hey, look, I skipped med school, but I did 10 years of psychology. I really worked on my mind. So when it gets stressful, so when the surgery is like a life or death situation, I can handle myself. No, that doesn't happen. You need the skill. If a firefighter, they won't say, oh yeah, you can skip your fireman training and you can go straight to psychology. No, you have to know what you're doing. You have to be competent before you go to psychology. So there's always been my frame in trading, which is always crazy to me, that yes, psychology helps. Yes, people can start with psychology, but psychology is not the most important thing. And even when it comes to performance, there's two people that follow the same technical edge and they have different performance. You could say that's an element of psychology, yes, because what causes someone to deviate away from their plan? It is most likely their psychology. So I get that portion of it, but that's not the only reason people deviate away from the plan, and that's not the only reason two people with the same strategy won't be executing it in the same way. So it's not always down to psychology. My belief is technicals will always come first, as long as you don't have psychological anchors. I'll say that again. Technicals will always come first unless you have psychological anchors. So what are those psychological anchors? So usually when someone says focus on your psychology, is because you have an unresolved issue. You don't have a good relationship with money. You are greedy. You are very unavoidant. You are very fearful. You panic. You are very unconfident. You are very skeptical. You have all of these elements of doubts in your mind. Whatever you want to call it, it's just issues. Okay, if you're not in a neutral position, you're negative. You've gone through a terrible divorce, and you've got repercussions because of it. You've got huge financial debt, and therefore you've got repercussions because of it. The point being, if you're in a negative situation mentally, obviously that needs to be worked upon and that needs to be addressed before you can go on to technicals and everything else, because you're hindering yourself. The other thing I said, all the things I said today, are in essence to improve your psychology along the way, depending on the level. So if you're in Maslow's hierarchy, stage 1, of course you need to elevate that, because psychology will be more of an issue than your technicals at that stage. But if you start to ascend on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you start to ascend on the financial ladder, you have security and you have backups in life and you have cash savings. When you have the things that I mentioned set up, then psychology is not an issue in the early days. Then it's 100% technicals. Then when you start to build an edge, you've tested the edge, you've got data, you've proven it, then psychology becomes once again more important to then adhere to the plan and to know when it's performance issue or a psychology issue. So that's my advice on psychology for beginners. If you are starting out, don't worry about psychology unless you have issues that you need to resolve. In that case, obviously resolve them. If you have financial issues as well, or you're lower down on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or you just don't have enough of an income that you can allow yourself time to breathe, time to actually learn. If you're in these situations, by all means, you need to resolve that first, and I've spoken about it. But let's say you're not in that situation. Let's say you are already quite competent in your trading and you've got a good job, you're stable, you've got financial, you've got a bit of savings, you're not stressed about paying rent. You've got it covered. Okay, that's now a way better situation to be trading in. But now it becomes the other things I was saying of, okay, you've got one box ticked, but that doesn't mean everything else is covered. So now you don't have to worry about your rent and bills, and you don't have to worry about food and shelter. Amazing. But now you still have other things to address. So if you don't have childhood traumas, you don't have unresolved issues, and you're psychologically neutral, which is good. Financially, you're neutral. It's not a anchor for you. That's good. Now, what else can you do? What else is the most appropriate way for someone to move? And that's, I think, most people, probably a good portion of competent traders are probably in this situation. Maybe you've had one payout, maybe whatever situation, but you're stable. The thing to do now is understand how I can go from incremental growth, which is what everyone does. They go from crappy course to crappy course, consume a lot of YouTube videos, pirate some dodgy courses, and just go step by step themselves. They just rely on yourself and say, I'll figure it out, I'll study, I'll backtest, I'll put in the hours, and I'll get the hang of it. And what you'll think is, I've got the gist of trading. I know what smart money concepts is. I know what ICT is. I know what trendline trading is. You've got competence to a level, but that is not enough. We know in this day and age, it's not enough to be a good trader, a profitable trader. It's to just be competent. Because as I said, if you were to do sales, if you were 80% of the way there, you can make money. In trading, if you're 80% of the way there, you won't make money. You need to really be in that percentile of excellence to excel in the art of trading. So therefore, your priority needs to be, it's swallow your pride. And even if you are hyper independent and think you can do it yourself, you probably can, but there is virtue in using leverage, meaning to say, if you can find traders who are living the life you want to live, have proof they generated the income from trading and not other means, and you can see within their trading style that they are competent. So just to speak about myself, but this is not the purpose of the video, is when I've done my public signals on Twitter, I did, I think, 14 weeks of public live call outs. Okay, I gave every single one of my trades live ahead of time, not just calling the market, but actually, here's my entry, here's my stop loss, here's the reasons I'm entering the trade, here's a full explanation, and here's my MT4 screenshot of before, and then I told you when to take profit. I showed my afters as well, and then I did a YouTube video about each one of those trades, showing my verified broker statements, broker verified results. So you can see I actually took the trade if you didn't believe it for whatever reason. And again, some of my tweets have got 100,000 views, and I've said to people, if you can call me out, I'm manipulating things, if I've deleted losing trades, whatever it may be, I've done it as fully transparent as I can, and I did 40% in those 14 weeks, 40% public gain. Anyway, not only did I have to deal with extra psychological emotions of, if people now start to comment when I took a few losses, people start to comment, hate comments, that will get to me. Obviously having your neck on the line and that stress, that pressure gets to me. All of these things, but I didn't have to do some magic psychological course, okay? At any point in my trading, psychology wasn't like something I had to really focus on, because what you realize is technical competence takes you a long way. For example, in the case of surgery, a surgeon will not work on their psychology so much unless they have anchors. If they have anchors, they need to work on it. But if they are reasonably sound, sound mind, they know that their experience, their confidence, their stack of evidence, all the previous surgeries that they've done, their theory and experience and everything that they have, that's going to carry them. And then when it comes to, let's say, stress or pressure or life or death situation, panicking, what do they have? They don't meditate and journal and all these things. They have protocols in place, they have a predefined plan, and they have systems. So the same goes to your trading. You don't need to be working on cold showers and meditation and understanding all these crazy things that people do. You can, and it's beneficial, but protocols are more important, and systems are more important, and data is more important, and confidence is more important, and experience is more important. And once you start to do all these things, I've never had to sit and work on my psychology and do a monk mode for my mind. No, I've realized I've got data to prove my edge, and then I continually follow my edge. And when I've seen my edge play out again and again in long term for years, then of course I'm going to be sound mind. Of course I won't have to, if I take 3 losses, panic and spiral, because I know, okay, well, this happened to me before, this happens, this is part of the plan. I just need to check, are these losses I'm taking part of the plan? And therefore, if it's part of the plan, that's okay, because I know that if I have the 50% win rate, 50% of my trades will be losses, okay? And therefore, if I take 3 trades in a row and they're losses, or 5 trades in a row and they're losses, if that's part of my data on a 10 trade basis, if I lose 5 of them, 50% win rates, I don't know if I'm going to get win loss, in a nice way, or if I'm going to get 5 losses in a row and 5 wins in a row. And therefore, I can't change my plan and change everything and panic and spiral because I had 5 losses in a row when it's part of my plan. So I just need to check, have I deviated away from my plan? If I have, then I need to address it. If I have not, then there's no need for psychology to come in. So you need protocols to assess, you need protocols to what to do in certain situations. If you're feeling FOMO, what's your protocol? Experience will carry you through. So therefore, psychology is not that complicated and not that paramount if you just follow your technicals and follow a realistic system, because that's what everyone does in any field, and that's what I've done, and therefore I can vouch for it. And now, the thing of leaps and bounds, I think if you're in a situation where psychology is not a huge issue for you, money you've got sorted out from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that you've got food, shelter, and a little bit of savings covered. The next thing for you is not just slow incremental growth on trying to figure it out yourself and consume just content. you should hire someone that is going to help you and speed up your learning curve and teach you and can teach you with real life experience. So the reason I mentioned the signals that I did was because anybody that's a little bit clued on, they're not going to realize, okay, it's impressive he did 40% return. Okay, that's one impressive thing. Doing it on the public stage with the reputation online and all the pressure that comes in with hate comments and the responsibility of my reputation, that's another impressive thing, and that's a psychology component. But the most impressive thing, I think, was that if you pay attention, all of my trades were the same. All of my entry types were the same. All of my trade durations were the same. All of my trade frequency was the same. My win rate was consistent. My risk reward was consistent. Everything in my trading was consistent. The pairs I trade was consistent. The time of day I entered was consistent. When everything is consistent, that's a predefined strategic plan. That's not one day I'm going to trade GJ, the other day I'm going to trade Euro, USD, the other day trade gold, and then one day I'm going to trade London Open, the next day I'm going to trade in the Asia session, one day I have a 5 pip stop loss, the next day I have a 20 pip stop loss, one day I go for a scalp, the other day I go for a swing. This sporadicness leads to results on the short term but never in the long term. Predefined plan that is restricted, confined, will take care of your psychology and will lead to professional gains. And that's what you want to learn from someone. You don't want to learn theory. You don't want to learn this is a run of liquidity, this is an inducement, this is this and that. Okay, you can learn that. That's on the internet. That's not what you want from a coach, consultant, or mentor. What you want from a consultant is someone that can critique you and say, okay, I've seen your trades for the last month, this is where you're going wrong. I had that same experience and this is what I did. Someone that can say, okay, you're along the right lines, but it seems like you mislabel this quite often. It seems like the reason you keep taking losses on your buy positions is because of this. Someone that can go through each detail, speak from their experience, and use their experienced eye to look at your situation and guide you. That's the purpose of a mentor. It's not to just learn information. The purpose of a mentor is to guide you to true results, not just give you information. Information plus implementation is the key. That's what you need to find. You need to find someone that is living the life you live, that has the results you desire, and actually has qualified themselves to be an expert in that space so that you feel like you can learn from them. And then don't just go and look for a course and information. Look for their help. Look for individual coaching or some form of consulting. That's the only way you can really grow, which is what I've constantly done in my life with masterminds, with consultings, with coaches. All of these things are far more important than YouTube videos and good content, and that's why I'm a big believer in it. And therefore these are the stages this video that I'm making is for all levels. If you're a beginner, I've told you what to do. If you're struggling with psychology, I've told you what to do. If you're lower down on Maslow's hierarchy of needs or Ikigai, I've told you what to do. If you are a little bit more stable, a little bit more experienced, financially stable and a little bit more experienced, I've told you what to do. So I think this is like a complete real psychology plan on how to approach things. And when I look around, the mentors I see in the trading space, there's plenty of good traders potentially. No, I'll take that back. There's not plenty of good traders. There's a handful of good traders. And what you have to realize is if someone's selling a course for $100 and they put all their time and effort into that course, and they have nothing else going on, and you doubt their trading ability, what's the likelihood that their income is from actually trading, or if it's from their $100 course? Who really, if they respect their time, will do anything for $50, $100? They won't. A real professional will have the trading in a specific way, not just sell you information, but have models and actually high-level things with experience, and then they're going to value their time. That's what a real trader is going to do. So my advice is also watch out. Watch out for people that are just trying to sell you a quick course to feed their lifestyle, and they've never shown a shred of evidence or proof, and their trading is all over the place. That's the majority of traders you'll find on the internet. Avoid them because they're not going to help you. They're going to damage things, because if they teach you something and you believe it because you say, okay, this is a good trader, you put them on a pedestal, you really trust their judgments, and they haven't even done it themselves, they're going to mislead you, and you're going to put belief and emphasis on things that maybe are wrong, and that's going to set you back. You are better off doing things yourself than following someone that doesn't know what they're doing, but they just follow what everyone else is saying. And last of all, once you've got good coaches and you've found a level of profitability and you're quite advanced now, you've got profitability, you've had people make leaps and bounds of growth for you instead of incremental growth, the only thing left to do is understanding yourself on how you can continue to perform. Okay, continue to perform and grow, because trading is the hardest way to make easy money. And what I mean by that is it's really hard in the first few years, but if you get the hang of it and you do everything I've said and you really find profitability through models, not through randomness, and you have a predefined plan that is super restricted, and it has data to prove it's profitable, then trading is very easy. And that's why I'm able to travel a lot. That's why I'm able to trade from my phone. That's why I'm able to trade on the beach. All of these typical things that I used to hate. The reason I'm able to do it is because I've got a very restricted trading plan and I've got years of experience. And when you're in that situation, the only thing you need to learn how to do is track your performance. You don't need to get better at trading, because you just need to see, does the market fit my plan? If it does, take a trade. If it doesn't, don't take a trade. And it doesn't take hours of analysis. I can do a full analysis of a trade within a couple of minutes, and then actually executing the trade and then letting it be, having my partial set. It's not time consuming at all, especially the way I trade, which is 2 hours a day of potential trading. That doesn't mean I actually trade for 2 hours. Maybe I come to the London session and realize, okay, nothing fits my plan today. It's unlikely to fit my plan today, and I go on about my day. So that was a 5-second glance in my trading on most days. If you've got a strategy and it works, then you just need to learn how to perform and learn how to track your performance to know, are you deviating away from the plan? Is there psychology and elements and all these things? Okay, so to wrap up the video, we've had quite a lot of things to go from beginner to advanced, and at which stage you're in, what you should be doing to take from it what you will. Cheers, everyone.